Okay, welcome to the second of 3 sort of shortish tutorials on sort of kinetic typography or animated text, or however you want to call it. This is this simple sort of like and subscribe screen. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this and we'll start from scratch. So we need to bring in a fusion composition, so up to your effects library, make sure it's turned on, click effects and fusion comp and drag your fusion comp onto your timeline. Make sure your playhead's over your fusion comp and go into fusion. Move your media out of the way for a minute. What I'm going to do is just set up. When the autosave finishes, I'm going to set up a quick background. Make whatever background you want. This is just a quick sort of gradient. So I can get hold of you. Likewise, have whatever colours you want in these. So click on the first little arrow to set one end of your gradient. Its colour, click on the last little arrow to set the other end of your gradient, again pick its colour, and there you go. Okay, so obviously this is a text effect, so we're going to need a text node which we'll bring in. View in the viewer, you need 2 words roughly the same length, so we will go with what we had. So like, I'm going to make this light, and you want to bring the size up a little bit. These will change later on, you'll see why. So what we're going to do is we're going to animate the tracking on this so that it tracks out and then tracks back in again over a couple of seconds. So starting at frame 0, come to your tracking, click a keyframe, and then come forward to frame 24, bring your tracking out to where you want it. Again, this will change, it will get tweaked later on, so around about there. Come to frame 48 and drop it back to its default of 1. So that's your basic tracking motion. It's going to go out and come back in. It will loop doing that. Now what we want to happen as it comes out is for that word to change. So to do that, we're going to need to keyframe our style text and our font. So if we just add keyframes at frame 0, now we're going to come forward to frame 12 and we're going to change the text. And we're also going to change the font style and make it bold. So now what's going to happen at frame 12 is we'll go from like to subs, and then we need to come to frame 36 and go the other way. So change it back to like and change it back to light, and that's basically all there is to it really. So we're going to have that kind of effect. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to use our Spline Editor to make that loop, so we don't have to put in billions of keyframes. So come up to the top right to Spline, click the Spline Editor, check your text box and come to this little box here that says zoom to fit, and that puts all your keyframes into one window. You just group select them all, Shift S on your keyboard just to smooth out the animations a bit, and then come down to the bottom of the spline window, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th from the left you see set loop. Hit that and it does exactly that. It just loops the previous animation for as long as your comp exists, like that. Now what we need to do is fill our screen with this little beastie. So we will close the Spline Editor. What we're going to do is we're going to come to frame 24, which is the widest point of the track, and we're going to position our text up in the top left hand corner of our window. So I just use the black and white squares as a rough guide for this. Now we're going to need 3 columns, so click on your text plus node, shift space and type duplicate to get a duplicate node. With this node selected, come up to copies and enter 3, and now we're going to drag our duplicate node into our view window. At the minute nothing's changed because all 3 copies are one on top of another. However, if you come down to the control handle and grab the horizontal and pull, we now have multiple copies going across the screen. Now as you can see, this is too big. So what I'm going to do is come back to my text node, and I'm just going to drop the size of the text. And you can see we're getting a bit more sort of sense of separation. So we can, again, while you're still in the text node, this copy here is what we need to position. So bring it over, and then we can come back to our duplicate node and we can pull it so it's a bit more balanced. And now you're starting to get some sort of sense of separation between the words. Cool. So now we've got 3 copies doing exactly the same across the top of your screen. So now what we need to do is get them coming down the screen. And to do that, we're going to use another duplicate node. So shift space, duplicate. Now with duplicate 2 selected, we're going to come to copies and make 8 copies. And again, we're going to put duplicate 2 into our window so we can see what we're doing, and this time we're going to grab the vertical control handle and simply pull it down. And we're trying to get it as balanced as we can. So we can maybe come back to our original text node and just pull it up a little bit. Back to the duplicate 2 and pull that down slightly just to try and get a little bit more space between them. If needs be, you can always come into your text node and sort of drop the size slightly further. It's a bit of a trial and error thing until you get a reasonably balanced pattern. So now if we play through, we've got this effect, which is great, but what we wanted is the sub to travel down. To do that, we simply come back to duplicate 2 and come to time offset and pick a value. I think I used -5 in the example, we'll try -3 to see what that does. And we get this kind of effect. Again, what offset you use will determine how the pattern appears. So you can play around with that to get the desired effect. And that's basically it. As the saying goes, I hope you liked it. I hope you found it useful. What I'm going to do is just merge our text onto our background, which now gives us our final image. Come back to the edit screen, give it a second to cache, and there you go, your sort of animated squiggly like and subscribe screen. I'm not sure how useful that will be to you. Maybe the techniques rather than the end result are of more use. But yeah, so that was the second of 3 mini tutorials. The last one may take a little while to come out, possibly tomorrow. I had some issues with it I need to sort out before I sort of send it to use lot. Anyway, hope you liked it. Please feel free to subscribe and like, as the screen tells you. Hit the notification button and then you'll know when the last one comes out as well. Cheers.